सो कोई भी बिस्किट 10 ग्राम फैट से कम में नहीं बन पाएगा अगर वो कुकी है, ठीक है। और वो फैट कौन सा होता है? इट्स द हाइड्रोजनेटेड फैट, विच मीन्स इट इज द the vanaspati ghee or whatever you call it. I mean, I don't want to name brands, but yeah, basically the hydrogenated fat is what every baked product is made up from, and it is very very rich in sodium, because the baking soda, obviously it's a baked product, so that thing is going to be made with baking soda for sure. बिना baking soda के तो bakery item बन ही नहीं सकते. So baking soda क्या होता है? Sodium bicarbonate. So जो sodium होता है वो इतना ज्यादा होता है कि हाइपरटेंशन में हम सबसे पहले बेकरी बंद करते हैं. जो डाइटिशियंस बहुत पढ़ के नहीं जाती, ऑफ कोर्स आप लोग VLCC से पास आउट हो, आप लोग बहुत स्मार्ट हो, बिकॉज मैंने सारी किताबों में स्पेसिफाई किया आप लोगों की कि व्हाट आर द फूड्स दैट आर फर्स्ट टू बी स्टॉप्ड व्हेन यू हैव अ प्रॉब्लम और व्हाटएवर काइंड ऑफ अ प्रॉब्लम यू हैव. ओके, बट like I have myself seen and heard with my own ears the dietitians telling the hypertensive patients to stop sodium chloride as the first thing, which is common salt. कि अच्छा आपको ब्लड प्रेशर हो रहा है, आप नमक खाना बंद कर दो, ठीक है. नमक में जो सोडियम क्लोराइड होता है, उस सोडियम की पोटेंसी इस सोडियम बाइकार्बोनेट से काफी कम होती है. सोडियम बाइकार्बोनेट इज मच मोर लीथल, ऑल्दो वो बिस्किट में सॉल्ट नहीं है जो हम खा रहे हैं, इट्स अ स्वीट बिस्किट, ओके. लेकिन बेकिंग सोडा जो उसका सोडियम है, जिसकी वजह से कार्डियोवास्कुलर डिजीजेस एक्सेंचुएट होती हैं, बढ़ जाती हैं आपकी बॉडी में, उसको स्टॉप करना. मीठा बिस्किट है, क्लेम करता है कि हेल्दी है, लेकिन आपको नहीं देना है उसको लोगों को, बिकॉज ट्रांस फैट की वजह से, दूसरा मैदा की वजह से, क्योंकि मैदा हम बिल्कुल भी नहीं देते. फाइबर बाइंड्स कोलेस्ट्रॉल. आई हैव इनग्रेन्ड दिस इन योर हेड, राइट? फाइबर बाइंड्स कोलेस्ट्रॉल. सो फाइबर तो होता ही नहीं है मैदा में. सो फाइबर नहीं है तो कोलेस्ट्रॉल कभी भी कंट्रोल में नहीं आएगा. सो एक तो मैदा, ऊपर से सोडियम बाइकार्बोनेट, और उसके भी ऊपर से ट्रांस फैट इज समथिंग वी वुड नॉट अलाउ पीपल टू हैव. हेंस इट बिकम्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट for like us to control heart diseases when we continue giving people. I mean, there are people who've told that सुबह चाय के साथ हम रस्क खाते हैं. रस्क in North India, toast in South India, it means the same. It is that वो baked वाली जो bread होती है, रस्क, जिसको चाय में डिप करके लोग खाते हैं. मारी बिस्किट डिप करके खाते हैं, ग्लूकोज के बिस्किट्स खाते हैं, पार्ले जी एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स. सो इन सब चीजों में ये प्रॉब्लम आती है. So avoid giving all these things to especially the heart patients. अगर आप 40 years के plus हो तो please आप तो बिल्कुल घर में बिस्किट लाना बंद कर दीजिए. Don't, because it has much more serious repercussions. Not it's just making you fat, it is also giving you 100 other problems. So yeah, that also. और जो deposition of fat होती है, why I'm elaborating on the biscuit, because हमारे बच्चे, and because I've seen Oreos, and like there are nice brands that look very fancy, and we feed our kids a lot of biscuits. हमारे घर में सब में बिस्किट के डब्बे होते हैं हमारे घर में. Children start consuming them when they are 1-year-old babies, and the deposition of fatty streaks in the arteries starts when you are a 1-year-old baby, in the early childhood. You know what is the age of early childhood? 1 to 3 years. Officially, technically, we call early childhood as 1 to 3 years. So at that time this deposition has started, not just because of bread and rusk and biscuits, but there are multiple other things like chips also, which is again simple carbohydrate, and the chips are fried items, and they are fried in like obviously they are fried in trans fat, so that they don't spoil. Chips तो आप 6 महीने भी आप अपने घर में रखो अगर, if you buy a packet of say Lay's or Uncle Chips or Kurkure or whatever, so you keep it in your house for 6 months also, it will not get rancid, it will not get spoiled, it will not even smell, because it contains a very high level of certain chemicals, and anything which is cooked in trans fat will not spoil ever. ओके बहुत सालों चलती है, 2-3 साल तक भी चलेगी, बिकॉज ट्रांस फैट रैंसिड नहीं होता है, इसलिए ट्रांस फैट यूज करते हैं मोस्टली. ऑफ कोर्स इकोनॉमिक होता है, 50% रेट का होता है कंपेयर टू द अदर. But yeah, this is how it works. And so that deposition has started. But बच्चों में आप नहीं देखोगे कि उनको breathlessness हो रही है, because as I told you, fatty streaks भी जमा हो रहे हैं उनकी भी walls कभी कभी बहुत thick हो जाती है अगर obese baby है. Suppose that baby was 1 year old, has a lot of biscuits and chips and rusk, okay? अब वो 9 year old हो गया है, उसका weight भी बढ़ गया है क्योंकि उसकी tendency है कि वो बहुत ज्यादा जंक फूड खाता है, स्पेशली adding burgers and pizzas and pastas to it. Green vegetable children as it is don't eat so much. So as a result, now that lumen has become, उसके भी lumen कम होता जा रहा है, और fatty streaks की deposition when that baby has become 9 year old has become like pretty thick, okay? But still that baby you will feel that is able to run and walk and jog and like does not really get tired too much. That's because because the walls have not got calcified. Okay, the arterial walls are still not calcified. Calcification will happen only after the age of 35 years or more. Actually, depending on your weight and how sedentary you are, and what kind of food do you mostly eat, उस पे depend करता है. I mean, I don't want to specify an age. 35. It could be 30 years also if you've been very very obese and if your eating and drinking habits are very bad and if you are a very high smoker and things like that, तो वो जल्दी भी हो जाएगा. लेकिन 35 years के बाद से calcification शुरू हो जाते हैं आपके arteries में, especially if you are very sedentary. And 45-50 years के बाद lumen और narrow होता जाता है. So what I mean to say is that deposition is happening for the last 35 years in our life. आप 1 साल के बच्चे थे तब से आपकी बॉडी में शुरू हुआ, वो आज तक हो रहा है, ठीक है, और वो होता ही जा रहा है. So it is very imperative for us to be very careful about the kind of diet that we have, because diet can completely, अगर देखो जो calcified हो गया है ना, उसका आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते अगर आपके arteries में. लेकिन calcification सबसे पुराना, ये जो आपने first 10 years of your life में deposit किया है सारा fatty streaks when you are 1 year old baby till the time when you were a 15-year-old adolescent. So 15 years तक जो आपने ये जो फैट डिपॉजिट किया है, ये कैल्सिफाई हो जाएगा when you become 45 year old. Now you're 45, जो बचपन में आपका डिपॉजिट हुआ था, वो पुराना वाला जो फैटी स्ट्रीक्स है, वो कैल्सिफिकेशन हो जाएगा उसका. now you can't do anything about that. but हाँ, जो 15 साल के बाद का जो कैल्सिफिकेशन है, the new one, that is still reversible. Okay, that is reversible. Calcified fatty streaks are irreversible. You can't do anything about it. That's completely converted. It has got hardened. It is not going to save you. It's not going to reverse at all. But जो major component of reversible वाला है, that's a major component. So you have nothing to worry about. Even if you're 50-year-old today, even if you're 60-year-old today, okay. So even then you will see that you can, you should be able to reverse that problem. I mean, you should be able to reverse जो ये deposition है. And basis what kind of a diet and lifestyle you follow, and you have to stop smoking and drinking too much, and you have to eat a lot of vegetables and fruits, and you have to eat multi-layers, like the phytochemicals and all that, and PUFA and MUFA, and start going in for a walk. Brisk activity is something we don't recommend to heart patients for obvious reasons. We don't, as it is उनकी body में डिमांड एंड सप्लाई का गैप है, ऊपर से आप उनको बोले हो भागो, रोज दौड़ो, जिम जाओ, ट्रेडमिल पे भागो. मैक्सिमम हार्ट अटैक्स हैपन ऑन अ ट्रेडमिल or they happen early in the morning after a walk. That's only because you have pressurized the heart beyond a certain level. So इसीलिए कभी भी एक्साइटेड होके आप कार्डियोवैस्कुलर पेशेंट को ये मत रिकमेंड करो कि उनको बहुत ब्रिस्क एक्टिविटी करनी है, क्योंकि उनका ल्यूमन इतना छोटा होता है कि जब आप उनको ब्रिस्क एक्टिविटी करवाओगे तो उनकी बॉडी डिमांड करेगी ऑक्सीजन, लेकिन सप्लाई उनका ना तो हार्ट कर पाएगा, ना उनके ब्लड वेसल्स में इतनी जगह होती है. तो उनका जनरली हार्ट अटैक इसीलिए ट्रेडमिल पे सबसे ज्यादा होते हैं और इसीलिए मॉर्निंग वॉक्स के बाद ज्यादा होते हैं. मॉर्निंग वॉक स्पेशली अगर टेम्परेचर बाहर का कोल्ड है तो कोल्ड में चीजें सिकुड़ जाती हैं और गर्म में चीजें एक्सपैंड हो जाती हैं. सो योर ब्लड वेसल्स आल्सो कॉन्स्ट्रिक्ट इन द विंटर That's why maximum amount number of heart attacks happen in the winters. And you must have heard and read in the newspaper that we normally recommend the patients who are the heart patients, we refrain from letting them go for a morning or an evening walk early in the mornings or late in the evenings when the temperature is very, very low. It is only because of this reason, because if they go in the very low temperature outside, the blood vessels are constricted. Upar se they are cholesterol patient, and they as it is have narrow arteries which has further got narrowed down because of the deposition of the fatty streaks. There's hardly any space. ऊपर से और वो आर्टरी भी बहुत पतली मतलब सिकुड़ गई है, constrict हो गई है because of the temperature. So hence it becomes very difficult for that person. So normally when we start with any kind of a physical activity for cardiovascular patient, I normally start with pranayam. I tell them to do just pranayam or a morning walk if it's not very chilly outside. Okay, or a good normal walk. We never tell them to go for a brisk walk. We tell them to not take their heartbeat anything above 100 or 110. So that heart and their blood vessels don't get pressured and their body does not demand a lot of oxygen. Slowly as they are walking for about 1 or 2 months, these fatty streaks जो uncalcified, as I told you, calcified का आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन जो uncalcified है, which is almost 80% of the remaining, okay, only 20% gets calcified even by the time you are 50-55-year-old. The remaining 80% is uncalcified, which looks like this, okay, this is uncalcified. Calcified वाला एकदम white हो जाता है, that becomes like a stone. Stone को तो obviously हम पिघला नहीं सकते, but इसको हम हटा सकते हैं, ये वाला जो yellow वाला है. So this can be removed, of course, through the diet and lifestyle. Walking plays a very important part, a very important role in reversing this deposition also. But it's going to take a while. And so जैसे आपका like there are two kinds of cholesterol in your body. One is called HDL and one is called LDL. LDL we'll call as bad cholesterol. HDL we call as good cholesterol. So when you go for a walk, right from day one, your LDL starts falling down and your HDL starts elevating. आपका LDL कम होता जाता है और HDL बढ़ना शुरू हो जाता है. और HDL आपका हाई डेंसिटी लाइपोप्रोटीन, दैट इज HDL, वो आपका गुड कोलेस्ट्रॉल होता है. गुड कोलेस्ट्रॉल इसीलिए बोलते हैं क्योंकि उसका काम होता है कि ये वाला जो अनकैल्सिफाइड फैटी स्ट्रीक्स है वो इसको लेके लिवर के पास आता है और लिवर उसको कन्वर्ट कर देता है या ट्रांसफॉर्म कर देता है इनटू बेटर थिंग्स. So your lumen will start expanding now और धीरे धीरे you will no more be a cardiovascular patient, but it's going to take you a while. It is not magic. जो चीज 1 साल से आपके 40 years तक बॉडी में हो रही थी उसको आप 1 महीने में नहीं ठीक कर सकते, 1 साल लगेगा उसको पूरी तरह से जाने में. So but then definitely improvements and reversal will start happening from day one of you starting your walk or whatever you do. That goes without saying. So you have to be very assured that changes have started happening. The HDL has started increasing, LDL has started falling. Now this uncalcified fatty streaks, the yellow thing, is going to get reversed and it will come to the liver, and once again your arteries will become healthier and it will start flowing the blood at a kind of normal pace after about a while. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to tell you. So in children this problem of calcification is not there, so you will not find them getting breathless, but at least what you can do is avoid this problem, that as I always say that बच्चों को जब भूख लगती है तो आप उनके पास 2 bowls रखो, एक में आप कुकीज दो, चोको कुकीज, चोको फिल्ड कुकीज, और दूसरे बोल में आप पपाया रखो, तो वो कभी भी पपाया नहीं लेंगे. They will always take that choco filled cookies और वो पूरा पैकेट एक बार में खत्म होंगे. वो खुलता है पैकेट और सीधे डस्टबिन में जाता है. ठीक है, even if it is the larger packet of 20 cookies, all 20 will go inside their body and that packet will go in the dustbin empty. Okay, the wrapper. And so, but if you don't get cookies in the house and you give them some whatever, like you can give them a fruit chart, say 1 banana and some mango. This is the season of mango, so I can name only the fruits which are coming right now, which are apples and mangoes. Jamun has started coming, so give them these fruits. Okay, give them apple and give them bananas, and you can put chaat masala in that and you give them a bowl of it. Children love to eat this also. but depends on what you can give them bhel puri if they really want snacks. You can give them bhuna chana, you can give them chaat of any kind, but refrain from giving them anything which is coming as a processed food, especially from a bakery. If you want to make it at home, it's your choice. In the houses, you can make it in a healthier versions of it. But if you're taking it from outside, then you have to be very, very careful about it, and refrain from getting biscuits in your house. Again, tell you again and again. So please take care of it. Rusk नहीं लेना है आपको चाय के साथ कुछ भी नहीं लेना है. मैं आपको यही सिखाती हूँ. चाय के साथ जो लोगे वो बेकार है, वो वैसे भी स्टूल से निकल जाता है, बिकॉज टैनिन, कैफीन, निकोटीन आपके किसी भी न्यूट्रिएंट को एब्जॉर्ब नहीं होने देते हैं जो चाय में होता है. इन द टी यू हैव टैनिन, कैफीन, निकोटीन, राइट? So these three are called anti-nutrients. They will not let the absorption of any of the nutrients from anywhere come into your systemic circulation. So चाय के साथ तो कुछ भी लेना ही बेकार है. चाय के साथ तो हम वैसे भी कुछ नहीं देते हैं, ठीक है? उसके अलावा भी जब आपको हंग्री होता है, there are better options, like there are peanuts, सिंगदाना, भुना चना, भेल पूरी, मुरमुरा, मूरी is what you call it in some this thing, so hing chana, makhana. So these fruits, these kind of mango shake, chiku shake, give these kind of things to your kids, and I'm sure they're going to love it. At least in my house, I've seen that my kids are also like yours, big junk food eaters. I mean, बच्चों के आजकल I think बचपन से tasty वैसे होते हैं, but of course my children are grown up, very grown up now. So, but then still, those tastes are there कि बहुत भूख लग रही है, तो they would prefer having a butter chicken with a naan rather than having a khichdi. That happens normally. I think वो सबके बच्चों के साथ ये है. So, but then I have stopped getting biscuits in the house and kind of try and give them the healthier options. Like वो table पे ही रखा होता है, so whenever anybody is hungry, they start taking that. Bread, of course, we all have to get sometimes, but rest of the things, avoid making sandwiches for the meals, at all. And especially if you have a heart patient in the house, you're not supposed to give them no rusk and no sandwich. That's because of the sodium which is present in them. Forget about maida right now, but trans fat and sodium is something which is lethal. I call them poisons in today's time, because all the diseases are happening because of overconsumption of simple carbohydrate and trans fat. So that's something we have to kind of avoid taking. So that is the history of actually atherosclerosis, is what I'm trying to explain, that this is how fatty streaks start increasing, and then it leads to thicker and thicker and thicker walls, and then finally it stops the blood flow totally, and because of which now there's going to be a problem, and the clot can happen, which is called thrombus, which can lead to embolism. That is the clot which is blocking the passage of the blood totally, leading to cardiac arrest. Okay, so this is the development of atherosclerosis. As you can see here, सबसे ऊपर वाला आप देखो lumen of the arteries जो normal है. फिर plaque देखो थोड़ा थोड़ा यहाँ पे deposit होना शुरू हो रहा है. Plaques form in the lining of the artery. Now plaque is growing, lining the artery. It is also damaging the walls of the artery. See, it's growing more, and then now it has become so much. And रोज रगड़ने की वजह से when the blood is grazing through it, तो देखो एक wound जैसा हो गया है यहाँ पे. So यहाँ पे ये wound, अब इससे भी blood रगड़ के चलेगा. और heart patients का blood बहुत thick होता है हमारे blood के comparison में, क्योंकि उसमें बहुत सोडियम होता है. ठीक है, सोडियम इज वेरी सैचुरेटिंग. सोडियम आप किसी भी चीज में डालो तो वो थिक कंसिस्टेंसी का हो जाता है. सो ब्लड में भी सोडियम जब बहुत ज्यादा हो जाता है, दैट ब्लड बिकम्स वेरी थिक, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ विच इट फ्लोज विद अ लॉट ऑफ प्रेशर. सो दिस ये वुंड हो जाता है. द प्लाक जो यहाँ पे हुआ है, दिस रप्चर्स एंड इट विल गो एंड इट विल like block some other area आगे जाके कहीं पे. This results into the atherosclerosis, and eventually when this gets stuck somewhere, it causes heart attack. Okay, so I'll just give you step-by-step development of atherosclerosis, because like most of the obese clients who would be coming to you, they will all have the problem of atherosclerosis. So how it already starts, I've kind of already told you. Just 1 second, excuse me, please.
అది రికార్డింగ్ 50 నిమిషాల్లో 60 నిమిషాలు అవుతుంది. ఆ తర్వాత తీసేసుకొని మళ్ళీ స్టార్ట్ జరుగుతుంది. మళ్ళీ చూసుకో కావాలండి. రికార్డ్ చేస్తున్నానే.
Sorry. So yeah, this is how it functions. First is that the first step that you see here is say that in the walls of the arteries there is a deposition of fatty streaks. So what are these fatty streaks made up of? See in the line number 2. So the fatty streaks are like deposition of lipids, which are cholesterol and its esters, triglycerides, steroids, and deposits of iron and calcium, and RBCs and some fibrous tissues. Okay, that's what they are. That is what is called fatty streaks in one word. इनकी deposition शुरू हो जाती है. In the first line you see it begins during childhood. ओके बचपन से ये शुरू हो जाती है. बट सी इन लाइन नंबर 3 इट सेज दीज कॉज नो डिस्टर्बेंस इन द ब्लड फ्लो इन द अर्ली चाइल्डहुड बट बिकम्स मोर एक्सटेंसिव इन एडोलेसेंस. क्योंकि एडोलेसेंस में तो आपको पता है कितना ज्यादा जंक फूड बच्चे खाते हैं. they are so much into taking everything processed, you know, they stop taking even tiffins to their they eat from canteens and they are so much into maida and stuff like that. These fatty streaks become very thick in the adolescence, especially when our food habits are really bad. Then you see in the second point I've mentioned that in young adults more lipid is deposited. In young adult would mean in the 20s में हम young adults बोलते हैं, right? So in the young adults more lipid is deposited at some sites along with the fibrous tissue. This causes elevated lesions called fibrous plaques. और ये और thick होते जाते हैं, मोटे होते जाते हैं, and they become bigger in size. Now these starts projecting into the lumen. ये lumen में निकलते हैं जो blood flow का passage होता है, and now they start disturbing the blood flow. Okay, so this is what happens. उसके बाद जो point number 3 है, we will see here that the fatty degeneration starts. The fatty degeneration and the thickening narrows the lumen of the blood vessel and this plaque is highly susceptible to rupture. ये ना mountains की तरह बीच बीच में निकल रहे होते हैं. You know, कुछ कुछ areas पे ये बहुत big हो जाते हैं, ये plaque deposit होते जाते हैं. So they become, obviously blood is flowing there and you know they are elevated into the lumen. So we see that they रोज रगड़ के ब्लड वहां से जा रहा है तो दे गेट रप्चर्ड, ब्रेक हो जाते हैं वहां से जहां पे ब्लड क्लॉट फॉर्मेशन हो जाती है विच इज कॉल्ड थ्रोम्बोसिस. ठीक है, जो एरिया रोज रगड़ रहा है वहां पे ब्लड क्लॉट हो जाता है. जैसे चोट लगती है तो वी सी नो इट बिकम्स लाइक थिकर एंड हार्डर फ्रॉम दैट एरिया whenever our wound is trying to heal. So like that only it happens in the arteries also and there is the formation of thrombosis. Thrombosis का मतलब होता है blood clot and this blood clot thrombus जिसको बोलते हैं this enlarges in time and ultimately obstructs the blood flow. You know, like बिल्कुल ही blood flow obstruct. Sometimes in point number 4 I've mentioned जो इस thrombus का part होता है ना वो टूट जाता है यहाँ से और वो टूट के निकल के it will come in the normal ब्लड पैसेज और उसको इट ब्रेक्स फ्री. जब तक वो क्लॉट चिपका रहता है उस एलिवेटेड एरिया से तब तक उसको थ्रोम्बस बोलते हैं. जब वो ब्रेक फ्री हो जाता है एंड इट ब्रेक्स डाउन एंड कम्स इन द नॉर्मल ब्लड देन इट इज कॉल्ड एम्बोलस. एम्बोलस एम्बोलस मतलब वही क्लॉट है लेकिन अब वो टूट गया है, उसको एम्बोलस बोलते हैं। वो क्लॉट आगे जाके फिर से किसी नैरो पोर्शन में जाके फंस जाएगा, तो उसको एम्बोलिज्म बोलते हैं। सो एम्बोलस वाज दैट ब्लड क्लॉट, नाउ इट इज गॉन एंड गॉट स्टक इन वन पर्टिकुलर एरिया वेयर द ब्लड इज फ्लोइंग, एंड दैट प्रोसेस इज नोन एज एम्बोलिज्म। एंड एम्बोलिज्म हो गया मतलब आगे ब्लड फ्लो ही नहीं हो पा रहा बिकॉज उस क्लॉट ने रास्ता रोक दिया है, and it has completely stopped the further, it has blocked the passage of the blood, further, and because of which the blood flow will not be able to happen, and as a result oxygen supply जो भी आगे वाला टिश्यू था जहाँ पे ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई हो रही थी अब वहाँ पे बिल्कुल भी नहीं हो पाएगी, leading to cardiac arrest or a heart attack. So it says in the point number 5, if this occurs in the major coronary blood vessel, the tissue area supplied by this artery is deprived of the oxygen and nutrients, it will be known as ischemia। जो हमने बताया था ना, ऑक्सीजन जब नहीं पहुंचता है तो उसको ischemia बोलते हैं। and this what will happen to that tissues, that tissue will die। जहाँ पे ये ब्लड जा रहा था अगर वो ब्लॉक हो गया पूरी तरह से एम्बोलिज्म की वजह से, सो ऑब्वियसली अब ऑक्सीजन तो नहीं पहुंचेगा वहां पे क्योंकि ब्लड पूरी तरह से ब्लॉक हो गया है। सो वो टिश्यू एरिया जहाँ पे ऑक्सीजन जा रहा था बिना ऑक्सीजन के, यू नो दैट द टिश्यू विल डाई। So the tissue will die from that area, and the local area of the dying or the dead tissue is called as infarct. Infarct means वो infarction जिसको बोलते हैं। Since this damage occurs in the cardiac muscle, it's called myocardial infarction. The rest of the heart continues the normal function. So वो area बिल्कुल dead हो जाएगा और myocardial infarction आगे जाके congestive heart failure में lead करता है और कभी भी heart attack आता जाएगा, लेकिन तब तक heart में बहुत दर्द होगा। मतलब वो जो that pain I told you know that generates from the heart and radiates to the shoulder region, neck and even till the ears and on your left hand and comes down till your fingers, you know, and that pain will keep coming happening because जब भी myocardial infarction होती है so आपका rest of the heart तो function कर रहा है, थोड़े से heart में blood supply बस रुका था तो वो totally dead हो गया है, लेकिन कभी भी electrical impulses की वजह से total cardiac arrest भी हो जाता है if this problem continues and we don't control our cholesterol and triglyceride. Okay, so this is the whole process of development of atherosclerosis. So I'll kind of quickly repeat it for you. So what happens is, firstly, in the early childhood, the fatty streaks have started depositing, and the fatty streaks are made up of cholesterol, triglycerides, cholesterol esters, steroids, calcium and iron. Okay, all these things start getting deposited बचपन से, लेकिन बचपन में calcification नहीं होता है आर्टरी के वॉल्स का, इसलिए ऑक्सीजन डिमांड एंड सप्लाई में कोई खास ज्यादा डिफरेंस नहीं आता। और उसके बाद जैसे जैसे एडोलेसेंस में आते हो वैसे ही ये जो फैटी स्ट्रीक्स का लेवल होता है ये बढ़ता चला जाता है। द फैटी स्ट्रीक्स बिकम थिकर एंड थिकर एंड थिकर, स्पेशली इन द एडोलेसेंस बिकॉज दैट इज अ टाइम व्हेन योर eating habits are at its worst and workouts and walks are not there at all because children don't realize the importance of workouts, and I think it's also educational pressure these days because of which I think they're just running from tuition to tuition, especially in their 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. You know, children don't have time for workouts, they have to study, they are sleeping late in the night, they are eating all sorts of junk food, they are drinking a lot of carbonated beverages like Coke and Limca, Fanta, whatever, they're eating a lot of sugar, they're eating a lot of maida, there is no fiber in their diet, there is a higher consumption of trans fat and things like that, and the mental pressure also adds to it because heart function directly connected होता है न्यूरो हॉर्मोन्स के साथ में। तो जब आपके स्ट्रेस हार्मोन निकलते हैं तो यू विल ऑलवेज सी दैट आपके हार्ट बीट बढ़ जाती है और आपको पैल्पिटेशन होने लग जाती है because neurohormones का बहुत major role होता है to play in governing the heartbeat. You know, that is one point I'd forgotten to tell you. I'm so sorry. So one sec, I'll take you back to that slide where I must have mentioned because I remember mentioning it in the slide. Yeah. So you see in the myocardial infarction, जो heart attack वाला जो नीचे वाला portion है उसमें extreme left में आप देखो the oxidative the fifth last line, the oxidative metabolism of cardiac muscle is altered by hormones liberated during stress. So I think ये एक बहुत बड़ी problem है आजकल stress की, जो सबको है. You know, people take stress very hard on themselves, and especially in the adolescent time, because we are talking about that era when we, you know, in adolescence we say that maximum thickening of the arteries happen. Okay, because of I think पढ़ाई का pressure, competition का pressure, parents का pressure that they have to get through the best college and they have to go to their you know, whatever, they must become a doctor, they must become an engineer. So I think that kind of a pressure, I don't become the CAs and accountants and dietitians and sports people, you know, वो भी तो professions होते हैं. So इसलिए it's not worth it, because ये जो problem शुरू होती है adolescence में, so ये child care nutrition के workshop में हम पढ़ाते हैं that you know what your eating habits and food and stress is between the years of 1 to 19 is what decides your health after 40 years of age. So this actually defines a lot of the stress related disorders that are happening in today's time, which are starting from the adolescence. So adolescence mein maximum thickening of 30-year-old, then the fatty streaks have become so thick, the calcification of the old fatty streaks have already happened. You know, the episodes of them getting stress happens a lot, and because of which statins levels start coming down. Statins stress का direct link होता है, stress होते ही statins कम हो जाते हैं, जिसकी वजह से uncontrolled कोलेस्ट्रॉल होता है, आपकी फैटी स्ट्रीक्स और थिक हो जाएंगे स्ट्रेस में आके. एज अ रिजल्ट अब उन पे एम्बोलिस होता है, मतलब थ्रोम्बस फॉर्म हो जाता है. दैट थ्रोम्बस विल ब्रेक फ्री टू फॉर्म एम्बोलिस, व्हिच इज कॉल्ड क्लॉट, फ्लोटिंग क्लॉट. दैट फ्लोटिंग क्लॉट विल गो and get stuck in some area of your artery where the lumen was very very narrowed, and now your total blood flow to that tissue is stopped. As a result, there is zero oxygen supply, and that tissue will become dead completely, permanently, irreversibly, and that is called necrosis. And generally this leads to myocardial infarction, and eventually heart attack happens because of this reason. So the main reason for heart attack is atherosclerosis. Okay, so it says here that at any stage the patient can die because the heart is not able to pump the sufficient blood, okay, leading to congestive heart failure. So ये तो हो ही जाएगा ऐसे heart में और ऐसी body में. So stenosis of the arteries is what it is called. That's narrowing. Stenosis, wherever the word is used, it's called narrowing of the blood vessels, okay. So whenever there's narrowing of the blood vessels of the arteries is sufficient to cause ischemic pain. Why stenosis is happening? Because of increasing deposition of the fatty streaks. तो उसकी वजह से ये होता है stenosis. So it says stenosis of the arteries is sufficient to cause ischemic pain, but not infarction, especially on exertion. This condition is called angina pectoris. That pain that comes. So ischemic pain when oxygen supply is not having angina pain. Angina pain का मतलब होता है कि बहुत थिक हो गई है आपके फैटी स्ट्रीक्स और ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई में अब बहुत दिक्कत आ रही है. So that is the time when you're not supposed to have any kind of a mental and physical stress. Mental stress की वजह से क्या होगा? न्यूरो हॉर्मोन्स निकलेंगे जिनकी वजह से हार्ट फंक्शन नहीं कर पाता है. और फिजिकल स्ट्रेस की वजह से क्या होगा? फिजिकल स्ट्रेस का मतलब है यू आर ट्राइंग टू जॉग, रन, brisk walk, okay, but your body is not like that you can do brisk walk, because when you brisk walk your body will demand a lot of oxygen so it will not be able to supply the oxygen to that extent as much as your body is demanding, and as a result there will be burdening of the heart and leading to myocardial infarction or heart attack. So it says all these conditions, whether it is angina pectoris, whether it is myocardial infarction, sudden cardiac death, they are all included in the term coronary heart diseases. Okay, that is what we are trying to study. And if this thrombosis or this embolism happens in the cerebral artery, you will call it stroke. Obviously हार्ट से अगर ब्रेन की तरफ आर्टरी ले जा रही है ब्लड को, ठीक है, और उसमें अगर ये क्लॉट जाके फंस गया है, तो इसका मतलब होता है ब्रेन के उस पार्ट को जहां पे ये आर्टरी जा रही थी, there it is not being able to supply the oxygen anymore. So without oxygen, that part of the brain tissue will become dead totally, and your left side of the brain controls your right side of the body, and your right hemisphere of the brain controls the left side of the body. So opposite होता है brain control, brain opposite side of the body को control करता है. तो अगर ये clot अगर आपके left side में जाके फंसता है तो आपकी right body paralyzed हो जाती है, और अगर ये cerebral artery right side वाली brain की होती है तो आपकी left body में paralysis होता है. So उस clot के फंसने को हम stroke बोलते हैं. Patient will not die because heart is functioning properly. There is no problem with the heart, okay? But cerebral artery में clot आ गया है, and that passage is going to get obstructed, and that particular segment of the brain will become dead because उसमें oxygen supply पूरी तरह से रुक गया है. Okay, so this is the image of the atherosclerosis that I was trying to explain to you. So under endo, this is a normal artery on the left side, and see on the right side is the atherosclerotic artery, which is narrowed by the plaque, and see the lumen has become very, very narrow, and this will become thicker and thicker and thicker with the passage of time as age increases, and calcified area will also become more and more and more if the age increases, provided you have a bad lifestyle. If you don't have a bad lifestyle, if you already have started taking care of your diet, your exercise, your sleep timings, then you have nothing to worry about, because फिर आपका अगर आप लाइफस्टाइल अच्छी कर रहे हो तो आपका HDL बढ़ेगा, और ये जो सारा एरिया है, ये जो डिपोजिशंस है, ये सारा वापस से लिवर के पास चला जाएगा, आपका ब्लड ले जाएगा, और फिर से आपकी आर्टरी हेल्दी हो जाएगी. अनकैल्सिफाइड वाला चला जाएगा, कैल्सिफाइड वहीं पे रहता है हमेशा. I hope you all are very clear about the way atherosclerosis and heart diseases develop, and how heart functions, what are the functions of the heart, how it looks like, from where the oxygenated blood comes, from where deoxygenated blood comes, what is fatty streaks, how it becomes thicker, when it starts depositing, what are the foods that makes or increases the deposition of the fatty streaks, not just about food, what are the wrong lifestyle factors. So you should be able to answer all these questions, that I have just mentioned after having studied this, because this is, जब फिजियोलॉजी समझ आ जाती है हार्ट की, तो फिर बहुत अच्छे से समझ आ जाता है कि उसको ठीक कैसे करना है. Okay, so we'll talk about the risk factors. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll talk about the risk factors of atherosclerosis. So what are the risk factors? So there are certain risk factors that can be modified. There are certain risk factors that cannot be modified. So modified वाले risk factors होते हैं जो आप चेंज कर सकते हो, जो आपके हाथ में है. ठीक है, बट यू शुड वांट टू डू इट, दैट्स मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट. सो जो मॉडिफाइड रिस्क फैक्टर्स हैं इज डिसलिपिडीमिया. डिसलिपिडीमिया का मतलब होता है कंटिन्यूसली अगर आपको हाइपरटेंशन, हाई कोलेस्ट्रॉल, हाई ट्राइग्लिसराइड है बहुत सालों तक, एंड यू डोंट वांट टू डू एनीथिंग अबाउट इट. एंड यू नो इसके लिए एक लिपिड प्रोफाइल टेस्ट होता है जो हम करते हैं. लिपिड प्रोफाइल टेस्ट में हमको पता लगता है दैट आपका टोटल कोलेस्ट्रॉल कितना है, आपका टोटल ट्राइग्लिसराइड कितना है. तो टोटल कोलेस्ट्रॉल आपका 200 होना चाहिए और बिलो. टोटल ट्राइग्लिसराइड आपका 150 एंड बिलो होना चाहिए. और आपका 3 तरह के उसके नीचे और कोलेस्ट्रॉल रहेंगे, LDL, VLDL एंड HDL. इसमें से सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं LDL एंड HDL. LDL को बैड कोलेस्ट्रॉल बोलते हैं, HDL को गुड कोलेस्ट्रॉल बोलते हैं. प्लीज लिपिड प्रोफाइल की जो रिपोर्ट होती है, जैसे मैंने आपको डायबिटीज में जब किया था तो आई हैड टॉट यू दैट हाउ यू सपोज टू सी द रिपोर्ट. यू शुड नो व्हाट इज FBS or the fasting blood sugar. You should know what is HbA1c, which is glycosylated hemoglobin. You should know what is OGTT, which is oral glucose tolerance test. What is random or PP blood sugar postprandial. मैंने उनके लेवल्स भी आपको सिखाए थे और मैंने कहा था कि अगेन एंड अगेन यू हैव टू सी द रिपोर्ट्स. Likewise, when you see the lipid profile also, please get hold or you can Google a lipid profile report, okay, if you don't have it in the house or in your friend's house or somewhere. If you get a live report, nothing like it. But if you don't have one, you can also take a sample lipid profile report from Google and you can try and read it, because you should always by heart know the levels of these things, okay. Like in case of diabetes, because our clients will directly come and tell us, or they will tell us over the phone that ma'am, I have my triglyceride has come 465. Then you should know that it is exceptionally high. But this 465 that I'm mentioning, you will see in so many patients, and it is so common. I myself have seen it in so many people. 450, 460, 390. This is the kind of like this is the kind of triglyceride that I've seen in people, whereas it should, how much it should be? 150 milligrams or lesser. This is what TG should be. TG is triglyceride. And how much total cholesterol? It should always be 200 or lesser milligrams, okay. So like this you have to know on your tips. इसकी exercise तो आप ही को करनी पड़ेगी, because like blood sugar, lipid profile और थायराइड टेस्ट और ब्लड प्रेशर, ये हम सारे पेशेंट्स का कराते हैं when we start consultancy. Or if you've already started consultancy, I don't make the diet chart without getting these reports. I mean, I might make the first diet chart which is nice and healthy, but in the first week I always tell people to come with these reports. Of course, blood pressure, your like HbA1c, fasting blood glucose, and the lipid profile and the thyroid profile. ये जो भी अगर obese है patients, उनका आप जरूर करवाइए, because उनमें से उन सबको ये वाला प्रॉब्लम जरूर होगा. इनमें से कोई ना कोई या हाई रिस्क पे होते हैं, because dyslipidemia generally leads to heart attack, so it's life and death, okay. So इसको जरूर से कराना चाहिए, which is the modifiable risk factor number 1 that we see on the top. The second one is called hypertension. So hypertension would mean high blood pressure. उसको भी monitor कराओ. Just 3 days, okay? 3 days का monitoring आप उनको कराना, and patients can give this to us over the phone also. So at least we know what kind of a diet to make to them. Because अगर first week हमने normal diet भी बना दी है, but hypertensive diet अलग होती है, उसको dash diet बोलते हैं. मैं आपको सिखाऊंगी dash diet, because tomorrow we are doing the dietary part of it. So tomorrow we are going to do the dash diet. Dash diet means dietary approaches to stop hypertension. उसको डैश बोलते हैं. डैश वर्ड कॉइंड हुआ था WHO के थ्रू. इट्स अ ग्लोबल वर्ड. और डैश डाइट का डैश फूड पिरामिड भी अलग से होता है, जिसमें हम सिखाते हैं कि किस तरह से बहुत सारा फाइबर देना होता है, होल ग्रेन सीरियल्स देने होते हैं, और हाई सोडियम फूड एकदम बंद करना होता है उसमें. तो उस तरह से, इसलिए आपको हाइपरटेंशन, और अगर कोई डायबिटिक है और अगर आपको आके वो कहता है दैट आई ऑल्सो हैव अ हाई कोलेस्ट्रॉल और समथिंग, उसको जरूर हाइपरटेंशन होगा, बिकॉज दीज 3 things are linked to each other. The first 3 that you can see: dyslipidemia, hypertension and diabetes mellitus. You cannot separate from them from each other. They are like फेविकॉल का जोड़. They are always together. So अगर एक है तो बाकी के दोनों टेस्ट करवाओ. अगर पेशेंट आपको आके कहता है that I am a diabetic, please ensure that you are getting their blood pressure monitored and you are also getting their lipids monitored. Okay, this is mandatory. So these are about the above three. Then we talk about the fourth one, which is called cigarette smoking, and this is a huge risk factor. If you've smoked a cigarette for over 5 years consistently, that means आपको सेंट्रल ओबेसिटी शुरू हो गया है. सिगरेट स्मोकिंग आपका मेटाबॉलिज्म राइज करता है, तो आप मोटे नहीं होगे, आप पतले होते जाओगे धीरे धीरे, बिकॉज इतना हाई बीएमआर हो जाता है सिगरेट स्मोकिंग की वजह से. लेकिन आपका सेंट्रल ओबेसिटी हो जाता है, आपका पेट बाहर निकलना शुरू हो जाएगा. यू विल लूज वेट फ्रॉम ऑल द अदर एरियाज एक्सेप्ट फॉर योर अपर एब्डोमेन, and you will become insulin insensitive. Definitely diabetes mellitus hota hai to people who are into heavy cigarette smoking. And because of central obesity, I told you that there's going to be a problem of fatty heart and fatty liver. ये भी cigarette smokers को होता है. और why hypertension happen to cigarette smokers? Because cigarette causes the increase in viscosity of the blood. You know what is viscous blood? Thick blood. So cigarette में ये टेंडेंसी होता है दैट आपका ब्लड बहुत थिक हो जाता है, और उस ब्लड में, जिसमें हमारे ब्लड में एक सेगमेंट होता है ना जिसमें ऑक्सीजन कैरी होता है, सो वो जो सेगमेंट होता है जिसमें ऑक्सीजन कैरी होता है, उस ऑक्सीजन की वजह से कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड आने लग जाता है. सिगरेट स्मोक जो होता है ना, सिगरेट का धुआं, वो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड नहीं होता है, वो कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड होता है, CO. और वो इतना डेंजरस होता है कि अगर हम 5 मिनट भी CO इनहेल कर लेते हैं टोटली, लाइक अगर इफ यू आर केप्ट इन अ चेम्बर वेयर देयर इज कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड, then we will die in 5 minutes. It is that lethal and so serious for your body. And for these guys who smoke so much cigarette, उनके ब्लड में जो ऑक्सीजन कैरी करने की जगह होती है, that ऑक्सीजन वाली कैरिंग जगह that gets replaced by the other gas which is carbon monoxide. That's why you see that smokers are always coughing very badly. Coughing happens when you're gasping for oxygen. जब आपकी बॉडी में ऑक्सीजन की कमी होने लग जाती है और आपकी बॉडी बहुत ऑक्सीजन डिमांड करती है, तब आपको बहुत जोर जोर से कॉफ होती है. कॉफ का मतलब होता है कि आपकी बॉडी जो अंदर कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड भरा हुआ है उसको बाहर थ्रो करने का कोशिश कर रही है और बाहर के ऑक्सीजन को अंदर लेने की कोशिश कर रही है. ठीक है, तो सिगरेट स्मोकर्स में ये भी विस्कोसिटी ऑफ द ब्लड होती है जिसकी वजह से हाइपरटेंशन होता है. ऑब्वियसली थिक ब्लड बहुत टेंशन के साथ फ्लो करेगा, स्मूथ फ्लो तो नहीं होगा ना अगर ब्लड थिक हो गया है तो. ऊपर से इनकी बॉडी में सोडियम भी ज्यादा. So imagine, एक तो कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड, ऊपर से सोडियम, how thick the blood will become. So this is the problem of the cigarette smokers, and cigarette smoking has nicotine, that is okay. Nicotine is the chemical which is there in the cigarette. So nicotine chemical has the power to change the जेनेटिक डिपोजिशन ऑफ योर फैट. हम सबकी बॉडी में जेनेटिक डिपोजिशन के एरियाज होते हैं ना. कई लोग जब मोटे होते हैं तो उनका फेस हैवी होने लग जाता है, कई जब वेट पुट ऑन करते हैं तो उनके हिप्स बिग होने लग जाते हैं. व्हेन सम पीपल पुट ऑन वेट, दे स्टार्ट पुटिंग ऑन वेट ऑन देयर थाइज एंड थाइज बिकम रियली फैट. देयर आर सम पीपल जिनका पेट निकलने लग जाता है. देयर आर सम पीपल जिनका डबल चिन होना शुरू हो जाता है. देयर आर सम पीपल व्हेन दे पुट ऑन वेट उनके आर्म्स बहुत थिक होने लग जाते हैं. सो वी ऑल हैव अ डिफरेंट एरियाज where we deposit fat when we become obese, when we start putting on weight. So ये genetic होता है. ठीक है, cigarette smoking या nicotine में इतनी power होती है that this has the power to change the genetic deposition of your fat and changes it to only central obesity. तो अब आपकी अगर टेंडेंसी थी कि आपके हिप्स एंड थाइज बिग हो जाते हैं वेट पुट ऑन करने पे, लेकिन अगर आप सिगरेट स्मोक करते हो तो आपका पेट बाहर आना शुरू हो जाएगा. सो आपकी टेंडेंसी जबकि नहीं है पेट पे फैट गेन करने की, बट बिकॉज आप सिगरेट स्मोकिंग कर रहे हो, निकोटीन डज दैट, यू नो, सो इट कैन इवन चेंज द जेनेटिक प्रोफाइल and you start putting on weight on your tummy, and from the rest areas you start losing because cigarette is highly increasing your metabolism, and because of which increase of the central obesity, you will have those four problems that I'd mentioned at the start of today's session, that you're going to have high cholesterol and high triglyceride. You will also have the problem of high blood pressure. You will have the problem of insulin resistance, which leads to diabetes mellitus type 2, and you will also have metabolic syndrome. तो ये चारों प्रॉब्लम आपको होती हैं जब आप सिगरेट स्मोक करते हो, और सिगरेट स्मोकिंग की वजह से जरूर हार्ट अटैक लोगों का होता है. आपने देखा है ना, हमारी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने मैंडेटरी कर दिया है अभी कि सिगरेट के पैकेट पे और जो दुकानें सिगरेट सेल करती हैं वहां पे हर जगह लिखा होता है that smoking kills, or and even in the movies they have started showing that whenever in the movie somebody is smoking, they write cigarette smoking is injurious to health. That is only because of the repercussion that in India cigarette smoking has become so rampant that heart attacks have increased exponentially high, and they are continuously increasing, you know, because of this problem, because of cigarette smoking. So hence, so of course hookah and all that are nicotine free, it's more of swag and style, so that does not affect so badly. But if it is a nicotine free hookah, it is okay, you know, you can show off, or you just that's just style. But if it is a nicotine hookah, it will give you the same problem as cigarette smoking, so try and avoid that. And the next one is called obesity. Obesity, especially central obesity. So whenever you start putting on weight, you know, when your weight becomes 15% more than your ideal body weight, then it is called the condition of obesity, and that is when you start developing, your statins level go down in obesity. So when your statins level go down, there is nothing to control your cholesterol and triglyceride, and as a result you will have the problem of uncontrolled cholesterol. Okay, and obesity has happened obviously because you have been inactive, no? So yeah, so obesity obviously means that you are physically inactive or sedentary. That's why हम मोटे होते हैं ना. So इसीलिए ये वाला प्रॉब्लम होता है. तो problem of CVD normally happens when as we become obese, we will have more and more amount of triglyceride and cholesterol and hypertension happening to us. And the next one is physical inactivity. So sedentary lifestyle has a huge role to play when we talk about the development of cardiovascular disorders. So you know, like जिस दिन से आप वॉक करना शुरू करते हो या जो भी आपको फिजिकल एक्टिविटी करना है, I mean you want to whatever, like you know, people have cycles in their houses, some people want to go out for a walk, some people love dancing, some people love strength training, some people love to do Surya Namaskar, some people love to do different kinds of yoga. So whatever you do, from day one of your working out, you start increasing your HDL levels and reduction of the LDL, and the reversal of the atherosclerotic plaque that is deposited in your arteries will start happening. Although maybe it will happen only 1% on day one and maybe even lesser, but the reversal has already begun. You have to be assured of it. So a human body is actually made to move all the time. If you don't move, then there would be a problem of diabetes and atherosclerosis and several other problems, even PCOS, hypothyroidism. All these happens in sedentary lifestyle people. Have you seen Milkha Singh having these problems? So the age of Milkha Singh must be like 86 or 87-year-old. बहुत बुजुर्ग हैं वो, और अभी भी वो ये बोलते हैं. मैंने उनकी स्टोरी आप लोगों के साथ शेयर की है बिकॉज यू नो, लाइक वन ऑफ माय वेरी वेरी क्लोज फैमिली मेंबर इज वेरी क्लोज टू मिल्खा सिंह, एंड So Milka Singh even today says that, whenever people tell him that, like now you've grown old and, like you've done so many world records and do you still run and things like that? So Milka Singh always says that I'm yet to make my world record. And even now at this age in his late 80s, he's running every day and he's almost touching his record that he had made when he was in his early 30s and late 20s. And he has zero medical ailments even at this age. When people say that their lifespan is not so big, and we know that after 60 years people start developing so many comorbidities, where at his age he says that I'm yet to make my world record and I'm striving and trying to break my own record. So, and there's no blood pressure, there is no diabetes, there is no high cholesterol. His heart is better than all of us put together. So this totally convinces us of the fact that, no matter what your age, it really, age is just about a number. And in the last webinar, I'd explained to you about the chronological age and the physiological age. So there is something called chronological age, that how many years old you are actually. Like if you're 63-year-old, you are 63. That's your chronological age. But there is something which is called your biological age or cellular age or physiological age or metabolic age. They all mean the same. So that means that how your body is from inside, how your body responds, how it functions. सेल्स की कितनी उम्र है अंदर से? आपकी उम्र 63 इयर्स होगी, लेकिन आपके सेल्स अंदर से 25 इयर्स के भी हो सकते हैं. आपकी बॉडी अंदर से 25 इयर्स की हो सकती है. नाउ वी diet consultants consider your physiological metabolic age as a more deciding factor. We make diet charts for you. नॉर्मली उल्टा भी होता है, लोगों की क्रोनोलॉजिकल एज 25 होती है और मेटाबॉलिक एज 63 होती है, विच इज लाइक, और बहुत कॉमन सिचुएशन है ये. आप में से जो भी ममाज एंड पापाज हैं, आप लोगों की एज आपके बच्चों की एज से ज्यादा यंग होगी, बिकॉज यू गाइज आर इनटू न्यूट्रिशन, यू आर अवेयर दैट यू शुड हैव अ गुड लाइफस्टाइल, गुड ईटिंग हैबिट्स. So when you get your BCA test done, body composition analysis, you will see that your metabolic age will be lesser than, much lesser the actual age, and your children's metabolic age, if they are not into active sports and are sedentary, it will be much more than your chronological age. This is what it happens. So I don't even want to talk about the age factor right now, but yes, I want to out loud talk about physical activity, because all the diseases these days that we call as non-communicable, they are happening because of the sedentary lifestyle factors, and because we are not moving too much. So please make your move. When people tell me that I have acidity, my this happens and my that happens and my knees are hurting, and like my weight is not losing, I've got constipation, I have become very forgetful, or I have a lot of depressive thoughts, so it is only because of being, either you are on the drugs or something, one reason, number one, and second is that you're a sedentary lifestyle person. Otherwise these kind of problems will not happen. So as we say, my favorite saying that I always repeat in my webinars is that use it or lose it. So you please keep using your body parts, your hands, your feet, your brain, otherwise you will lose it. That goes without saying. So please use it or you lose it. So please be physically very, very active. Take that me time out of your life, and give it to, like you, I think you own that time for yourselves. And like उस टाइम में आप कुछ भी करो, म्यूजिक सुनो, आप अच्छे वीडियोस सुनो, ओपरा विंफ्री के वीडियोस सुनो, रॉबिन शर्मा के सुनो, Procter Gamble series, like whatever you want to. There are so many books that come as e-books these days. Listen to them when you go for a walk, and do that early in the morning. Early in the morning is a time when your body is at its best in metabolism, and oxygen levels in the environment is also the highest. You see that when you do it anything, like 45 minutes after the sunrise, so you see that the changes it's going to make to your body. It can make impossible possible when it comes about reversal and healing of your bodies and diseases and losing your weight, so since I told you last time that I'm also a yoga teacher trainer. I mean, I don't teach yoga. I've just done a course in yoga teacher training, and so उसमें हम बहुत importance देते हैं morning workout को, yoga को सुबह के time करने के लिए, and meditation में सुबह के time करने के लिए. So it is called Brahma Muhurat. I can speak a little Sanskrit. I'm sure that all of us would be able to understand this. So it's called Brahma Muhurat. So 90 minutes before the sunrise and 45 minutes after the sunrise is a time where they say that all the gods, I mean, of course, like we have different religion, different gods, but God is only one, we know it, right? We have only given different names to that God. So it's basically, it's not God, it is the protective functions of the universe. So they say in yoga, what we learn and what we teach is that all the protective functions of the universe, the energy in the universe that protects and heals, is at its highest in the morning, which is 90 minutes before the sunrise and 45 minutes after the sunrise. उसको ब्रह्म मुहूर्त बोलते हैं. तो उस टाइम आप जब भी कोई काम करते हो उसका असर आपके बॉडी में 100 times ज़्यादा होता है. If at that time you write in your book or in your diary that you will be very successful in your life, or that you want to make the best career, or you will be the best in your profession, or that you will definitely lose your body weight, or that you're going to heal your body of whatever problems you have, or that you're going to have very healthy good relations with people, you see that slowly that universe starts aiding you in taking you to what you have written during the Brahma Muhurat. So जब हम वर्कआउट कराने को बोलते हैं तो वर्कआउट भी हम बोलते हैं कि अगर आप ब्रह्म मुहूर्त में करोगे, of course I'm linking nutrition to yogic science because there is a strong link between them. I mean, how I would say as a nutritionist or as a doctor is that at that point of time your body energies, the energies, like is at its maximum, and metabolism is basically energy in your cells, right? That it at its maximum, because what is BMR? BMR is the amount, metabolism jo hota hai, basal metabolic rate. It is the amount of energy your body spends in one day when your body is at rest, and we say that this BMR is highest in the morning. So when we link it to the yogic science, that's called Brahma Muhurat there. Here we say that you have highest metabolism when you wake up in the morning, but you have to wake up in this particular time. Then you see that you're healing your metabolism, your flow of the happy hormones, your deflow of your stress hormones is happening really maximum. Okay, so but of course for that you have to go to bed also early. I don't recommend that you should sleep at 1 and wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Of course you have to, when you want to wake up at 5 o'clock, you will see the transformation happening in your life from within, from the core. Okay, definitely. I mean, I would highly recommend. My favorite author is Robin Sharma. I have read all his books and I'm a great fan of his. When it comes to interviews, I read his interviews. When I go for my run, I'm plugged on to his podcasts and YouTube videos, and it has definitely transformed my life. I'm sure it will transform yours also. So there's a book that he has written called the 5 a.m. Club. I'm sure that you've heard about it, and I have read it multiple times. Okay, so it's not just about reading, it is about internalizing it in your life. 5 a.m. Club में उन्होंने ये बताया है that the first 20 minutes when after you wake up, you should actually go for a brisk exercise. I'm telling you all this because we are talking about cardiovascular disease and physical inactivity. So when we do that physical activity, it is releasing so many things in our body. Of course, in the other webinars, I've told you about the happy hormones, endorphin, serotonin, and dopamine. These will help us to lose weight. These will help us to remain stress-free. These make us happy. They are anti-anxiety. They are mood elevators. They are natural painkillers, and do the plethora of other like benefits that they have. And they release BDNF, which is brain derived neurotropic factor, which is also repairing your stress cells. So जितनी भी बीमारियां हैं, अब आप इसमें ये देखो कि जब आप सुबह वर्कआउट करते हो तो आप रूट से सारी बीमारियां ठीक कर रहे हो, बिकॉज सारी बीमारियां born out of stress, and all these hormones that I've mentioned are opposite of stress hormones. They are not cortisol, adrenaline. Okay, they are happy hormones. So when they release, your body is in a happier life state, so the energies in the body are maximum and all the stress hormones have run away, they will never come. So all the diseases that happen to you as a result of the stress are going to get cured from the root. तो आपने उस पेड़ की जड़ी हटा ली है, so रूट्स ही हटा लिए, तो वो पेड़ तो वैसे ही मर जाएगा. So ये सारी डिजीजेस जो होती है, इनकी रूट कॉज इज स्ट्रेस. What is stress? Situation that releases or stimulates, like stress is situations that releases stress. Okay, so situations that release emergency signals and stimulus, this is what is called stress. So ये stress होगा ही नहीं आपको, आपकी बॉडी में, और stress नहीं होगा तो आपका thyroidism clear हो जाएगा, your hypothyroidism will reverse, your arthritis will reverse, your rheumatoid arthritis will reverse, your cardiovascular problems will get better, your diabetes will start getting controlled, your hypertension will reverse, even if there are cancer symptoms or degeneration of the nerves, all that will also start getting cured because you've removed the roots for that. Okay, so that is the importance of doing a great physical activity early in the morning. If you've not been able to do it, you can slowly start doing it now. Okay, don't stress yourself so much if you wake up at 8 o'clock because आपको लग रहा है कि लॉकडाउन है, सब लेट सोते हैं, लेट उठते हैं, बट धीरे धीरे आप अपना सिस्टम ठीक कर दो. सनसेट आजकल हो रहा है, आई डोंट नो, आई लिव इन न्यू दिल्ली, सो यहाँ का सनसेट 5:20 पे होता है. सो सनसेट के 45 मिनट्स बाद है, तो आपको 6 बजे के पहले उठ के वर्कआउट करने जाना ही पड़ेगा, तो और जल्दी उठना पड़ेगा. बट आप अपनी सिटी में देखो कि कितनी बजे हर जगह ऑलमोस्ट सेम सनसेट चल रहा है आजकल because it is summer time. So but then go to sleep by 11 o'clock, then you'll wake up very fresh. And as it is because of the lockdown, semi-lockdown phase now, the pollution level has come pretty down. So because of which you will not need too much of sleep, because you sleep more only because when your CO2 levels are very high, so now there's so much of oxygen, so the sleep quality has become better. And you'll not be, I'm sure you must be observing that आपको बहुत ज्यादा नींद नहीं आती होगी आजकल. वो नहीं आएगी, ऑक्सीजन ज्यादा होता है तो नींद नहीं आती है, आपकी बॉडी फ्रेश रहती है बिना सोए. So आप you can sleep by 11:30, wake up by 5 o'clock, and then you see, especially if you have a comorbidity, then you see that how your body heals. You will be amazed to see the transformation that's happening because of your early morning workouts or a run or whatever you call it. So all these are some of the modifiable factors which is completely in your hand. And then we talk about the unmodifiable factors that you can't do anything about, jo hai so hai. So it is like your age, it is non-modifiable completely, can't do anything about it. But yes, this is an ancient science that you can't do nothing about the age. But what I have taught you is that you can do a lot about your age. You can reduce your metabolic age. It's completely in your hand. Let your age be 70 years. Who cares? But you have all the powers to actually make your body, like 35 from inside. That I can assure you. Same thing goes for, the fine lines and wrinkles or the glow on your face. And there's so many things, like these kind of things, because we want to anti-age ourselves all the time, so that we look good. And, because we are the preachers to the world these days, we save the world through diet and nutrition. Doctor से भी ज़्यादा importance आप लोगों की है, जो आप 100 लोग across बैठे हुए हो, because doctors दवाइयाँ देके और मारते हैं लोगों को, आप लोग उनको सेव करते हो मेडिसिन से भी. and you're giving them a great diet, you're reversing so many diseases. आप medicines को taper करते हो, you're increasing their reducing the biological age. Even if the chronological age is higher, you're making them fitter. You are, you know, enliving them. You're making the heart health and the mental health and the spiritual health get better. So all those things are also helping. So I don't even want to talk about age here. वैसे इसमें लिखा हुआ है कि जब आप 55 years plus हो जाते हो तो your chances of heart diseases are very high. Okay, but then no, everything depends upon your metabolic age, so there's nothing to worry about. So the next one is male gender. So you can't do anything about gender since males have a problem of central obesity, which is much more. So they have the problem of having the heart attacks more.
దీప్తి వర్మతో నేను
So yeah, that's again another problem. You can't change the gender. Modify it these days, yes, but yeah, I mean, most 99% of the cases you don't. So if you're a male, you are at a very high risk for cardiovascular diseases, but only if you have a central obesity and if you've allowed it to develop. Then of course fourth is increased risk in men. Then the fourth factor is increased risk in women after menopause. So actually you know, like the estrogen hormone that we have, so we all start our periods, you know, the menstrual flow when we have arrived at the age of menarche, which is generally 13 to 14 years, which has come down way below now. And menarche se leke menopause tak, so menopause happens any time between like around 50 to 55 years of age. That's when females lose their fertility and they stop getting their periods. So till the time you are in the fertile age, okay, your estrogen level is very high, and before the menarche and after the menopause, estrogen level falls down. So you see all the problems that happens in the females will be after the menopause only, right? Because menopause के बाद estrogen level इतना गिर जाता है, जब तक estrogen level high होता है तब तक आपको problems नहीं होती है. You've never seen any female in fertility age die because of heart attack. So even if when there are problems of depression, anxiety, putting on weight, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, osteoporosis, it will all happen in a woman after she has menopaused. It will not happen before that. Okay, because estrogen is it's a huge protective umbrella for our body. I mean, we are very highly protected till the time we have estrogen. We will not develop any kind of a health risk. Estrogen, गॉड ने हमारी बॉडी ऐसा बनाया है फीमेल्स को, जब तक वो एक बेबी को बर्थ दे सकती है तब तक उसको कोई मेजर प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं होते हैं. सो मेनोपॉज के बाद ही होता है, या फिर जब ड्यूरिंग fertility years also there are certain females जिनको estrogen dip हो जाता है, like in cases of PCOS. PCOS में estrogen बहुत कम हो जाता है और testosterone बढ़ जाता है. So PCOS में भी we see that all these problems will start happening कि weight put on हो रहा है, पेट निकलता जा रहा है, diabetes हो जाता है which is because of the insulin resistance, you know, low feel होता है, osteoarthritis की problem आ जाता है. So all these things are going to happen because in PCOS the estrogen levels have dipped below. So hence, you know, like these problems. So these are the non-modifiable factors. We can't do anything about it, but what we can do is much greater. We can have a great diet and we can have a great lifestyle for sure, and which we are going to study about in tomorrow's session. So today we are going to stop here and I'll take a Q&A. In case you have any questions, you can ask me, and then we can proceed further. So any question related to anything in nutrition or anything to do with whatever, like physics, chemistry, biology, whatever you need to ask, or obesity management, or renal diseases or whatever, so we can answer them for you. We can utilize this time that we have during lockdown in kind of just enhancing each other's knowledge. So you can put it in the question and answer section, or you can put it in the chat box, wherever, so I can take questions. So Abhilash Agarwal, your question is that how to fix the muscles imbalance? Left side is smaller than right side. So which area of the body you're talking about? I'm not very clear, but it is absolutely okay to to have muscle imbalance if it is not bothering the functionality. जैसे arms में होता है, जब भी हम arm measurement लेते हैं, then I've always taught you know that your one arm is going to be thicker and the one arm is going to be thinner. So an arm which is exercising more is going to be thinner because it will have more lean weight, and the arm which is not exercising as much will be slightly thicker because it will have more fat weight. So but then it's absolutely okay if it is not troubling you. Then Alka Gangwani, your question is about Kangen water. Yeah, so everybody, the world is talking about Kangen water these days. So actually what happens is that the ROs that we have in our house to filter the water, the RO system जो होता है, so RO इसलिए पहले एक्वागार्ड होता था, एक्वागार्ड के बाद हम ग्रेजुएट होके आरओ पे आए. सो आरओ में क्या होता है कि एक्चुअली वाटर शुड बी मिनरल वाटर, राइट? आइडियली वाटर शुड बी मिनरल वाटर. जो हैंडपंप से पानी लेते हैं उसमें मिनरल्स बहुत हाई होते हैं, एंड वाटर बिकम्स वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट सोर्सेज ऑफ मिनरल्स. बट with the passage of time, what has happened is that we switched over because AquaGuard was filtering all the minerals also. So we were not getting too many minerals in our water. So we switched over to RO system. RO does not filter the minerals. But you know what are the minerals which are coming from the RO? Lead, arsenic, cadmium, zinc, bromide. These are very bad minerals. We call them heavy metals. Our body is not, I mean, if they go inside our body, they causes even diseases like cancer. So we don't want these heavy metals to be there. So people are switching over to, because like we are talking so much about alkaline body and alkaline water. So because our body is 80% alkaline, so obviously they say that water should not be had because your 75% of the body is water. So you should not have a water which is loaded with these heavy metals. Rather, you should have hydrogenated water or alkaline water. Alkaline water is called hydrogenated water only. So Kangen water gives you that. It filters away all the heavy metals and it hydrogenates your body, and your body's pH and your water's pH becomes alkaline. So your body is alkaline and you have alkaline water. So obviously the chances of you getting diseases is much lesser. But you don't have to worry, Alka. आप सब लोगों के लिए है. एक्चुअली थोड़ा सा सेलिंग गिमिक भी बनता जा रहा है इंडिया में, बिकॉज कैंगन वाटर एक्चुअली इसका जो वो सिस्टम आता है बहुत एक्सपेंसिव है. 1 लाख रुपीस का आरओ है ये. 80,000 से 1 लाख रुपीस में आता है. इतना पैसा वेस्ट करने का जरूरत नहीं है. आप वेजिटेबल्स एंड फ्रूट्स खाओ, आपकी बॉडी उसकी वजह से अल्कलाइन रहेंगी. हैव 2 fruits in a day, have lots of vegetables, a high fiber diet, drink lot of water, and have whole grain cereals and not maida, and don't have too much of processed food. That is enough to make your body alkaline, and your body has all the ability to fight against these heavy metals. ओके, सो यू डोंट हैव टू वरी. कब तक अवॉइड करोगे? हवा में भी तो ऑक्सीजन कम है और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, नाइट्रोजन और सल्फर ज्यादा होती जा रही है, तो ब्रीथ करना तो नहीं बंद कर देंगे ना. ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर वी डोंट कैरी like that. It is okay to have the water that we are carrying. Don't fuss about it. Okay, don't spend 1 lakh rupees in just putting this RO system. It is of no use, because water is not just coming from here. Water is also coming from your tea and coffee and chach and whatever that you buy from outside, from the milk. So it's just all right to have the normal RO water. Okay, Neha, your question is that what about people with low sugar? Do we give them the same diet you gave? What kind of food can we add? So people with low sugar cannot be given the high sugar diet. No, why will you give them that? मैंने तो आपको डायबिटीज के लिए डाइट दी है, तो आप वो वाली नहीं दोगे. किसी को लो शुगर होता है तो उनको इमीडिएटली यू हैव टू गिव देम समथिंग लाइक अ नींबू पानी in which a lot of jaggery is added, or you can give them some dessert, something like a kheer or a laddu. Always keep that handy. अगर लो ब्लड शुगर की प्रॉब्लम होती है, that will increase their blood sugar. Okay, so Monica, your question is that what is the reason of the swollen feet after sitting for a long time? Gravity. It's always gravity. If you've been sitting at one place for a long time and you've not been moving, your water will automatically come towards your feet, no? Because the circulation has become low. But then when you start moving around or when you flex your legs, so whenever people sit on a chair, we all